Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Bollocks. But this is it's kind of talking movie bollocks, because this is a real sort of crossover between the two. Because in this episode, I am talking with the wonderful Paul Waller, as you know. He of the A Year in Horror podcast, as you'll have seen from the graphic for this podcast, and also singer of OHHMS. So, we decided to have a chat about the Metallica movie Through The Never. Now, you know all of this because it's in the podcast description, and that's why you're here. So, instead of doing any more jibber-jabber, I'm going to get straight to it, because let's be honest, there is a ton of stuff to talk about this movie. We leave no stone unturned, and of course, we just talk about straight old Metallica as well. So, here it is. This is myself and Paul going right over the movie Through the Never. When we decided to do this, well, actually, due respect, when you had the idea that we should do this, because I think I mentioned the film and you were straight away, you were like, let's do it, it's just special.
Let's do this.
Yeah. How are you going to crowbar that into horror? Although there are horrific scenes in it. It's exactly a week ago where I put my entire Saturday afternoon aside, in lockdown, and I went, right, I'm gonna do this. So I watched all of the extras. I watched the whole movie in 3D because I can. And yeah, it was great. It was great revisiting it. Well, I say revisiting it. I mean, it's not like I haven't watched it for years. I do watch it every now and then. And I think I messaged you as well that once I'd finished watching the making of documentary, I was like so excited to watch the film. It was like I'd never seen it. I was like, oh God, I'm so excited.
It is very exciting to have all the capabilities of what that film is actually for, and you can just pop it in and watch it as it's meant to be presented.
Yes, yeah, and funnily enough, there is there's an addendum here for anybody listening, if they're watching it, and especially if you're watching it in 3D. You see, the thing about 3D that I do really love is that the sound is incredible, right? When you watch a 3D Blu-ray, the sound is 3D. The sound is fully immersive.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And normally, I don't know about you, but normally I will never choose 5.1 as an audio option if it's there, if I'm watching a concert movie. It needs to be stereo 2.0, because the album wasn't mixed in 5.1, and that's not what it sounded like at the gig. It's all just stereo. It's unfuckable with. But because Through the Never is a movie and has dialogue and is 3D, you have to choose the 5.1 option, because it's a totally immersive experience. So Hetfield's vocals are coming out of the dialogue spot in the 5.1. It's the way the sound... I mean, I could talk for hours on just how the soundtrack has been put together. 140 channels of a 4-piece band. Huh? 140... I mean, it's insane.
No matter how many times you've seen Metallica, you haven't heard them like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the time they spent. Well, you know what it's like, and I know what it's like. You know, you go out when you mix an album, you then go and play it on. When you're doing first mixes, you go and play it like on a laptop and on some earbuds and on big big stereo, in a car stereo. Do you know what I mean? Sitting in cars in car parks, listening to music. That's familiar for weirdos like you and I. But for most people, what? You doing what? But of course, what did Metallica do with the mix of this? Yeah, fucked off to cinemas. Not just one, several. And listening on all different qualities of cinema systems. I mean, the attention to detail is just painstaking. It's brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, it's as with all the things they do, when they commit to something, they absolutely commit to it to the microscopic detail of whatever it is. and yeah, for that reason alone, I mean, I have the soundtrack CD, obviously, which again is just absolutely brilliant.
I haven't got a question about the album. By the way, I haven't asked my first question yet. This is brilliant. This is a long one.
Strap in, folks.
The CD version. What's the difference? What's the difference between what you're getting there and what you're getting on the movie?
No different really, other than it's a CD, so you stick it in your CD player as opposed to sticking the Blu-ray in the Blu-ray player. I mean, it still sounds immense, absolutely immense, and Orion still sounds absolutely just unbelievable.
Is there a major difference between like the previous live albums, like Binge and Purge and shit like that? Is there a major difference when you're listening to this score?
Yes, yeah. The on the making of, when they're talking about the soundtrack, there's a couple of engineers who worked on it, and they're saying, the guy says, I've got 140 channels of a 4-piece band. This should not exist. This is, I mean, they can reamp things. It's basically a studio album that was recorded live. It's by no means they just stuck some mics and mic'd the band up and they're like, here it is with the crowd in the background. No, it's really not that. And what you're listening to is really a very, very, very well, you listen to a studio album with crowd noise almost. It's still the live performances, but it's a movie soundtrack. And so the amount of work and effort and detail that's gone into it is the same as that would go into any movie soundtrack. But it is just the gig. Obviously, you don't get any bits and pieces of, the dialogue or anything like that.
It sounds like it's probably better than Kiss's Alive 1.
Well, my feelings on Kiss. Yeah.
Right, let's kick this off.
Yeah,
let's not talk.
Yes,
I'm not going down a Kiss.
Somebody rattling a turd in a bucket would be better than listening to Kiss.
I'm taking you back. First question. Here we go. So my favourite Metallica song, Bread Fan. Okay, has been since day one. Shut your face. Since day one. Since
it's not a Metallica song.
It fucking is.
It's
so you've got Harvester of Sorrow, 12-inch. Got that day it came out. Flipped it over. And there's something about that energy of that song. That's since then, it's been my favourite. Everything about it. I know it's a cover, but it's the best.
Right.
So, easy question for you. You ready?
Yeah.
What's your favourite Metallica song?
Okay. Well, let me first of all play the 5 Degrees of H, about how you can tell a story of metal, and within 5 easy moves, I will somehow insert myself into the story. Okay. But it's a lot quicker this way. Your favourite song and the first single from And Justice for All, before the album was out, was Harvester of Sorrow. Well, the very first time I heard And Justice for All and Harvester of Sorrow was in Edwards No. 8 venue in Birmingham. It was a test pressing of the album that was being played through the PA. The test pressing was brought down by none other than Big Mick, who did the live sound on Through the Never. And he'd come down. He knew there was a thrash band playing. He didn't know us, but he knew there was a thrash band playing. And he came down to blast the album through the PA to get an idea of what he had to recreate when the tour started. And so we were going, we were all of a sudden it started coming through the PA and we were like, what the fuck is... It's Metallica. That's Metallica. What the hell's going on? And there's this huge bearded guy behind the sound desk chatting to... So anyway, straight away, we went up, said hello. Tour manager took him to one side. Would you mind doing the sound for the band tonight? And he was like, no, of course not. Yeah. How much do you want? A few beers. Just look after me. That's fine. Okay, great. So we dedicated a song to him as well. And we played Whiplash. We dedicated a song to him, and we played Whiplash for him. And he came into the dressing room. And he came into the dressing room afterwards, and he said, "I'll tell you what I told Metallica: slow down. You play too fast, but you play it better than they do." So I couldn't complain at that really. My favourite Metallica song, God, I mean, I think I knew you were going to ask me this, and I think I'm always going to go, sorry, I can't answer that because there's too many. There's like 10 or 12 tied at number one, but that's a bit of a cop out. So I'm going to twist my arm round my back and say the song that has everything is Master of Puppets. It has great chorus, it has intense riffing, it has great lyrics, it has a brilliant acoustic section, it builds out of that into a classic Master, I mean, come on. And so for those reasons alone, and also, Kirk plays a brilliant solo on it. So I'm literally, this has just occurred to me with you asking me the question. I think it's Master of Puppets. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I'm so shocked you committed there.
Me too, mate.
I'm happy
Me too.
with that. That's good. I feel I'm confident now that this chat is going to go well. You've delivered already.
You've delivered. You've put me at such ease that I have done what I never do, and come out with okay, yeah, wow. But by the way, your favourite Metallica song is "Bread Fan." Fuck off. I mean, that is so. Metallica fans around the world are listening to that, shouting at their speakers. It's not a fucking Metallica song. But whatever floats your boat, mate.
Come on, you'll be saying "Whiskey in the Jar's" not a Metallica song next. You've gone loco.
Yeah, Stone Cold Crazy, great Metallica tune.
Right, opening shot.
Yes.
Whiplash, it ends at Whiplash. It starts gliding over the city. Now, I was watching this and I was like, wow, okay, what a way to start a film. And I haven't got the 3D version, so I can only imagine.
Yeah.
First of all, what the hell was that like in 3D?
Every time I watch it, and I always watch it in 3D. I mean, I have watched it in 2D, but I always watch it in 3D because I can. And every time that flyby just gets me. It's just you're in the sky, and it's a brilliant, and it's a very deliberate use of the 3D. I'm well aware that I'm being manipulated by the filmmaker, and that the opening scene is meant to make me go, "Oh my god, isn't this incredible?" But it does. Therefore, I haven't been manipulated. It's just a fucking great idea. And yeah, I mean, I remember, we were talking over Messenger. And it said that opening scene, there is no music. I think it's Whiplash or Hit the Lights is like, you don't hear it until you get closer to the venue because it's blaring from the car that the guy in the car park is in. Yeah. So you don't really hear anything, and you hear the radio tuning in. There's a radio, some guy going, "Oh, and there's a sold out Metallica show," and it's bizarre. It's utterly bizarre. And then you descend down out of the skies into the car park. And you go from this like awe-inspiring, breathtaking, oh my god, to this fat loser failing to climb onto his car, and I just love it. It's a really cool way to start a movie.
I think it's like a metaphor for that T-shirt they did, that birth school Metallica thrash. That thing where it's like there's silence. There you go. Let's kill 'em all. Like, let's begin. Yeah. I feel like that sets up the film really well for me. And it's one of those ones, even in 2D, where I was, now because I knew I was doing this as well, I'm getting tingles because I'm actually, I'm loving this. This is great. This is why I love Metallica, So, yeah, really good. And I guess that's got a lot to do with Nimrod, the director, Nimrod Antal. I think it's Antal.
Yes.
I never get a name right, so who knows. But I remember chatting about this fella with Daniel because we talked about the film Predators, and he did Predators. Now, have you seen any of his other movies? Do you know a lot of his work?
No. What was that? Sorry, there is another film of his that. Sorry, you were talking about what film was it that you?
Predators.
Yeah.
One,
yeah, which I've seen once. So I think that pretty much says everything about what I thought of that film. Saw it once and thought, it's all right. But yeah, that was it really.
I think he is horrible to say, but a bit of a bog standard director. He does the job. And I think maybe that's why Metallica got him in. So you've not got this auteur. You've got someone that can follow your vision and, you can collaborate together. But at the end of the day, this is Metallica's movie. And you've not got someone trying to push too much.
I think that's a very, very good observation. I think it's a very accurate observation. And also factually correct. Because if you look at the writing credits, it's Nimrod and James and Kirk and Lars and Rob. There's right. 5 of them credited right in the movie. And the thing is, as well, is you just know, don't you, that as the movie's going along, in fact I do know this because it's in the making of, but as the movie's going along, literally the band are throwing ideas in, and Nimrod's going, yeah, okay, we could try that, or yeah, maybe I can get to... Because bear in mind, they're not the band, they're the boss. This is Metallica are funding this movie, so yeah. It
doesn't say Nimrod at the front, does it? It says Blackened,
Yes, Blackened Productions. Yes.
Right. You know that you're in good hands, though, when you've got the blood dripping from the guitar and you've got James's entrance. That is high gloss, sheeny movie making. So all right, okay, this is not just the concert film, even though I'm sure you wouldn't have gone to this not aware that it was just not a concert film. But I felt really in safe hands, and I remember that from the very first time I watched it, that, oh, okay, there's a ton of money being shoved at this. And again, just with that whole intro with the zoom, and then you've got the introduction of Trip, it all seems like, okay, this is not just your average film. And that's when you think, well, it's Metallica, of course it's not.
Yes, yeah. And also, I just thought, going back to watching it in the cinema, as soon as it starts and the intro, and something that we didn't mention as well, the skateboarding journey, which again showcases the 3D. The whole reason that is in there is 3D, because you're in and out of the pillars. And yeah, James drives past. There's a really cool quote from Dane DeHaan, actually, where they're going like, they were like, the director wanted somebody who could act with their eyes. And I do think he was brilliantly cast, because he's gone on to make some great movies. Not that this isn't a great movie as well. But he says, they said to him like, oh, you were cast because of your ability to eyes and show a look on your face. What do you think about that? And he said, well, when you turn round and James Hetfield is driving past in a hot rod blowing fire, there's not a lot of acting involved. It's like, yeah, do I look like stunned and shocked in that? Because I am. Yeah, that was literally like 1, maybe 2 takes.
Who else wouldn't be, though?
Yes.
What the hell is this car? Oh my God, look who's driving it. What's going on with that exhaust blowing fire?
Yeah. It's so James Hetfield as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've got myself a hot rod, it's black, it's cool as fuck, what's missing? Ideally, I wanted to shoot fire out of the back. Oh, not a problem, sir.
Right, we're into Creeping Death. You've got this whole thing, and then Kirk's playing that ESP White Zombie guitar.
Yeah.
My favourite guitar of his. It just looks incredible, and I'm all about the looks rather than the sound. Love that. But we've also introduced, as you say, to Trip with the skateboarding thing. How are you saying his surname? DeHaan?
Yeah, Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan. Okay.
Because that's how he pronounces it, and so I always think that's a very good guide. But by the way, before you go into Creeping Death, by the way, I know I'm sorry to mention this again, but a shout out for the 3D, because the first time you see the band straight off, James works up to his mic that's on a boom stand, and it's weird because like the boom stand is here in front of you, and then James is further away singing into it, and straight away 3D you're going right, okay, so it's front loaded. The movie's front loaded with loads of showcasing of 3D. That is again another deliberate early shot for you to make, so you go in like 3D, oh my God, this is amazing. Then the gig starts and it's, oh my God, the 3D is still amazing. This is how it's going to work. So you've got Kirk and you've got, and the first time that it closes up on Lars, and you're like, oh wow, I'm like in the kit, because you've got the kit is in front of you and Lars is behind it. It's and so again, those early shots are all showcasing the 3D, and they do it brilliantly. And like I said, it is a bit of audience manipulation, but by the same token, it's being done to make you go, yeah, this is pretty bloody impressive, isn't it? So you've had the intro, which again sets the movie up, but showcases the 3D. Then the band start playing, which showcases the 3D, and it showcases the sound, because straight away you're going, fucking hell, this sounds great. And so you're 5-6 minutes in, and you've just got Metallica boner for days, and do you know what I mean? And you've only got to da-da-da-da-da-da.
Paul Chanter, he said that he watched it round yours, and he could see like underneath Rob's hair. So it was that intense, the design of the 3D, that you could actually tell that that hair's in front of his face.
Yes. Yeah.
Jesus.
It's fantastic. It really is. And then like you say, Creeping Death is like crushing.
Well, let's talk about that in a sec. I just want to speak about Mr. DeHaan. Because of this, I thought, right, I don't know him in anything. I looked at his filmography and couldn't think I've seen him in anything. So I tried Life After Beth, which he made straight after this, which is a film where his girlfriend turns into a zombie. She's already dead, and then she comes back to life. And then, before you know it, everyone that's ever died has come back to life. That's the premise of the story. Right up my street. Love that sort of stuff. And he was really good in it. So I'm like, right, I'm going to watch Cure for Wellness next. And I haven't watched that, but I really want to.
Right, yeah, I've never got round to that, because it's a bit of an odd one. Don't get me wrong, I really like Jason Isaacs as well, but it's just, I think it's a bit of a drag. I know a few people who've seen it, and they're like, I've seen it, I never have to watch it again. But anyway, not to prejudge a movie, not to sort of prejudge a movie that I haven't seen, but yeah.
Do you think he handled this film well? I mean, I think he was well cast, but do you think he actually delivered on the roadie sort of runner sort of character? I know many roadies and runners, and they don't look that cool. I know that much. Yeah,
well, the thing is, I think the fan base is meant to identify with him. You see, there's a whole load of subtext going on, which ultimately is going to get exposed within the next couple of minutes when we get to a very key scene that basically just completely blows the whole subtext of the movie apart. He's not meant to look like a roadie. He's meant to look like a fan. It's a fan. The fan base are supposed to warm to him. He is a fan. He's not a roadie. And, Lars looks at him and gives him a strange sort of, who are you? None of the band know who he is. If he was crew, they would. We'll get to that particular sort of part of it that I'm keen to explore. In that case, let's talk about Creeping Death, For Whom the Bells Toll. What the fuck? Two Ride the Lightning songs straight away off the bat. Yes, yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? It's awesome. I love that, but why would they do that? But just bear with me 1 second. Creeping Death, we break off, don't we? In Creeping Death, we go, die, die, die. Now that section is when Dane DeHaan is grabbed by the crew. And I just want to say, for everybody watching that scene, right, where everyone's going, die, die, and he is, and they go out to the crowd, and he's stood in the stairwell, and it's just him stood there. Look to your right, just behind him, and you see a black dude with an afro tied back, with his arms crossed. Not impressed one fucking bit. Yeah, it's just like that? He's not into it. He's not nodding his head or anything. It's literally like yeah, I'm here. I have to be here. Who's this band playing? It's not my kind of thing, really.
It's no accident that he's there because you are looking at him.
Yeah, exactly. But also in Creeping Death is the first time that the stage makes its presence known, because it is the fifth member of the band in this movie. It is, it should get a credit of its own in the film. Yes. During Creeping Death, where the blood spreads across the stage. That was also the first time ever, and I don't know if it's been done since, but it's the first time ever that the stage is programmed by a computer, but the computer tracks the footprints of James, Kirk, and Rob. So if they walk across, the blood would follow them, and the effects follow them. So they're like pressure pad. That's like pressure pads as well as it's basically it's touchscreen. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I look at that stage, and what my wife said was, how the hell do they transport that along to do those pre-warm-up gigs? Like, how can you do that?
What a brilliant question. It's like, this wasn't set up, but I'll tell you how they do it. Normally, a tour will have 10 trucks. A big tour will have 20 trucks. That stage, 40 trucks. 40 trucks for that one stage. For the sold-out nights in Mexico City, 170,000 people for the run turned up to see Metallica. A small village grew up around the venue for the 4 days they were there, and literally it was like a Metallica. It's like something meets like Star Wars meets real life. This little sort of Metallica shanty town like you see in Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? With people, literally like a market town just grew up around the venue of people just selling Metallica merchandise and all that, and people camping out, and loads of people were going to all the shows, and literally it's like Metallica town inside Mexico City. Insane. Absolutely insane.
I've only ever experienced that sort of thing once when I saw Maiden at Twickenham, and you shut your pants.
No, I'm sorry, but we're talking about Mexico City, South American passion, right? And your comparison is suburban West London. It's a rugby stadium, rah rah.
Look. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
I don't really go to massive stadium gigs, and it was probably my second experience of it since Guns N' Roses played with God knows who, Soundgarden or something on Use Your Illusions. So, yeah, it's a long time since I've been to one. And I remember Daniel taking me along, and I was like, oh, God, okay, this is going to be rubbish. And I had the best time before I even got in there, just hanging out with those fans. There was no other T-shirts. It was all Maiden, which is something I'm going to bring up all the way through this discussion, the T-shirts in the crowd. I spotted some genius T-shirts. But yeah, I'm proper jealous. How about living in Metallica City?
I know.
Slipknot do it. Slipknot do it. Metallica surely have thought about it, although, sometimes the money return on what they do sometimes doesn't go so well. So yeah, I bet after this movie they're a bit more cautious on what they're pummeling all their millions into.
Yeah. I mean, that is the. I mean, for me, the movie's a huge success. But funnily enough, there are times in the making of where that you hear a brief discussion about no one's going to finance it, or we're going to finance it, and then you hear some quite near the knuckle discussions like, what's the budget for this movie? Does anybody know what the budget for this movie is? And someone goes, it's 15 million, isn't it? And the guy turns around and goes, really? Look over your shoulder. You see that line way back there? That was 15 million. and it's like, oh, right. But James does say, and it's quite funny because whether he meant it or not. Well, no, I'm sure he did mean it at the time. Probably before they spent way more than they planned to. He said his aspiration for the movie was for it to just be a really cool underground film. That's it. And I thought, well, job done, mate. Unfortunately, he probably said that when they had an underground budget, as opposed to where it ended up.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool.
So, I'm going to take you out of the film for just a second. During For Whom the Bells Toll, or Bells Toll, tell me what that is.
Bell tolls. For whom the bell tolls.
So, this is when I first get my real good look at Rob. Now, I had a real problem with Rob for many years. I didn't like what he was wearing. As I say, I work very visually with the bands I love, and I just thought him wearing like those basketball sort of jerseys, I wasn't really into it. But it wasn't that. And later on in life, I realised I just missed Jason. I just wanted Jason, and I blamed him when, it's nothing to do with him. Who wouldn't be like, oh, yes, okay, I'll play bass for Metallica. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. So I always had that thing with him that I didn't like. And then later albums, when you actually can hear that bass go, he's incredible. Like, I'd say just knocking Jason out the park with what he can do and what he does for the actual song. But I do remember those years of really being frustrated that he was in the band. How did you take it when he was introduced?
Well, firstly, I think I like the way you put it. I work very visually with bands I like, as opposed to not saying I enjoy judging a book by its cover.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you.
I knew I could get away with it. But no, I know what you mean though. I mean, I'm joking because I know what you mean. Literally, you can love a band and then one of them gets like a shit haircut and you're like, what the fuck? Now, it's a band. It's not made the album sound any different. What's wrong with you, dickhead? But it does matter, and that's one of the sort of intangibles about music, is that a member of a band can get what you perceive to be a naff haircut or something like that, and all of a sudden it kind of like affects your passion or whatever. I was disappointed. Bear in mind that when Jason left, it wasn't my favourite Metallica era by a long stretch.
Right.
So
it was mine.
Yeah, right. So I was because I'm that little bit older than you, so I was not as engaged in their career. In fact, I remember seeing in Kerrang or whatever that Jason had left, and I remember thinking, yeah, that's actually quite sad. I also remember reading the press release and thinking, what a load of utter shit. I wonder why he really left.
Yes.
And I think we all know that that is exactly what the case was. Now we do. But I knew Rob. I'd fucking played with the guy.
Wow.
Yeah, we played with Suicidal Tendencies when Rob was playing. We supported them in Brixton Academy. And funnily enough, Rob was the one single member of the band to say hello. The rest
he
of
would
them,
seem like that guy.
Yeah. The rest of them, for so-called underground street band, were doing brilliant impressions of stuck-up rock stars. But Rob was cool, and it was literally just walked past him in a corridor. He was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey," nice guy. I was off to get KFC, and I was a bit hungry. Didn't want to stay for a chat. So I knew of his work in Suicidals, I knew of his work in Infectious Grooves and stuff like that. When Rob Trujillo, the name, is announced as a new bass player, straight away I was like listing all the bands and all the stuff he'd done in my head, like the Aussie stuff and all that. So I it was like, okay, cool. That is a cool guy to get. In fact, he's probably at this stage, him joining Metallica makes Metallica cooler. Yeah, than making him cooler by joining Metallica. Doesn't make him any cooler. He's fucking cool anyway. So that, I think, was huge. The fact that he came in and he did make them cooler. And straight away, Playing with Fingers, that was like, I couldn't wait to, and of course, I couldn't wait to hear him play on an album. And of course, Saint Anger, he doesn't even play on it. But I remember an interview with Jason a couple of years after he left, and he said, I can't wait to hear the next Metallica album because I can't wait to hear how James and Rob bounce off each other because Rob's a fucking monster. And I also think it was Jason kind of saying, now I've gone, the Cliff replacement has gone, maybe there'll be a bit more room for the bass player to actually have a say in the band. You know, I think he kind of, you know, it's amazing to think that Jason was in Metallica for so long, you know, over 20 years, and was never really anything other than a Cliff Burton replacement.
Well, it's weird with him because it's a similar situation with Rob. He came from Flotsam and Jetsam. He was rising up. They weren't rising nowhere near as much as some of the other bands that I loved at the time. But there was definitely a rise on with Flotsam and Jetsam. And he was just plucked from that band, just like, you know, Metallica can pluck anyone they fucking want. It doesn't particularly matter. But he was a massive Metallica fan before joining Metallica, and why would that change? You know, I guess being part of it, you can still separate these things, and like still the fanboy is still there. You're not going to lose all them times from when you were the massive guy with the Metallica patch on your back and all that shit. Yeah. So there are similarities there.
Well, Hetfield always said they had to haze the fan out of Jason, which I kind of understand, but it reached stupid levels on the Justice Tour, whereby you actually had fans writing into Kerrang and things like that saying, basically, can you stop being such arseholes to Jason? It's actually fucking noticeable to the crowd now. You know what I mean? If it's like, you know, hazing somebody, it's like, you know, it's practical jokes, it's taking the piss, whatever it is, fine. Don't bring it on fucking stage. That's just unprofessional. But ultimately, there were a bunch of fucking guys in their early 20s who didn't know any better, who hadn't processed any emotions, hadn't dealt with Cliff's death at all. They just went, oh, fucking hell, Cliff's died. Right, I'm going to get battered for a couple of days, and then I'm going to pretend nothing happened. And we're just going to get... where's Cliff? He left. Oh, I heard he died. No, he's left. He just left, that's all. He's still alive somewhere. You know, it's just classic denial. You know, as far as Rob goes, I've always been cool with Rob. I kind of like the fact that, you know, he came in and he was Rob Trujillo. He just came in, he did his crab walks, he wore what the fuck he wanted, and he brought he definitely seemed to bring a personality, a lightness, and I'm really searching for the word because I want to get the right one. He's like authentic and laid back, but not as laid back as Kirk. You know what I mean?
But who is that laid back?
Yeah, well, nobody, not even Kirk these days. But no, he just had this really sort of authentic kind of nature to him, where it was just like you got the feeling. And again, I'm just, you know, probably projecting my thoughts onto the scenes, but in Some Kind of Monster, you kind of got the feeling that what they loved about it was almost no big deal to Rob. Do you know what I mean? It's like he joined, and on the second day he turned up to rehearsals and was like, okay, cool, what are we playing? Like, and
yeah.
And you can imagine the other three going, shit, we really need to impress this guy. he's in the band, and all right, fuck me, why is he so cool? Why is he so relaxed? Why are we the nervous ones? And that's just kind of the vibe I got. And like in that scene where they go, you know, we want to give you $1 million, and he's like, oh, cool. And it's like it's like somebody's asked him, do you want a coffee? Yeah, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it's like nothing phases the dude. He's just like everything is in perspective. And for me, it just makes the other three members go, oh, right, okay, yeah. Maybe you can be in this band and not be an arsehole.
That's the thing. I don't think they will be able to haze that guy like they could haze Jason.
But they wouldn't but they wouldn't want to or need to.
Yeah.
You know, that was then. And, you know, and I say, and that comment about, you know, maybe you can be in this band without being an arsehole is a joke. I don't mean that at all.
Sure. No one would think that of you, Howard.
Oh, yes, they would. But look, I love them, and I'm taking hours out of my life to discuss this movie because, you know, fucking hell, without them.
Well, we're only gonna skip on one song. They go to Fuel next. And oh my God, I'm going to... Right, okay. Talk to me about this bit in the film, but then I'm going to lay into you about some load.
Right, okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, you just throw load all over me. Before we need to talk about the movie, because there is a very, very key scene. And it is the scene where Trip is told that he needs to go on a mission, and he's given a can of gasoline, or as I like to call it, a cinematic device. He then goes to his van. He puts the gasoline in the back of the van, and then what does he do? He takes a pill, and the pill is half red and half blue. If that's not a fucking Matrix fucking nod of the hat, I don't know what is.
Yep.
And ultimately, he takes that pill, and the rest of the movie is Trip having a trip. He's in the crowd. He never goes anywhere. It's just that's my reading of it.
Oh,
I'm not saying that that's the case, but he's called Trip, and he goes on a physical and mental trip after dropping his pill. And that is then played out by when he is out in the van and Fuel is playing at the gig. He's driving the van, and you can see the flames and the pistons of the effects on the skyscrapers. Well, hello, there is no flames or pistons on those skyscrapers. He's not in the town. He's still at the gig. He's just tripping.
That is the reason why we are doing this film on the podcast, because we've all of a sudden entered the world of fantasy.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
2 images of this sold me, and it's at this point. So you got the bloody handprint on the wall.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I have seen so many horror films where that means, right, edge of your seat time. So, yeah, fantastic. Love that. But that crash, that van crash that he has, that must have cost so much money, and they don't use a lot of it. It's so quick. And I was like, in a normal film, you would see that from several different angles, several different times. And yet, no, like you are pretty much in and out of that because, you know, you're flipping back to the band. I know I keep going on about it, but what the hell is that like in 3D?
Well, thank you for asking, because that means I didn't have to interrupt and tell you. Because when you were saying that, I was thinking, oh, you need to see it in 3D, because that crash. I mean, I've got a note specifically about it.
Right.
That van crash is just brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I mean, you're in it basically. You're in the van, and it is. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. It really is. So it's a full-on... well, have you seen the movie Gravity in 3D by any chance?
No, I've never seen a 3D movie.
Ah, right, okay. Well, it's amazing, because the way it's done and the way it's filmed and all of the effects they use, they've spent all the money on the internal 3D shot of the van crash, and so the reason you don't get all the different angles is they've spent all the money inside of the vehicle and putting you in the vehicle rather than you seeing the vehicle from several different angles.
Got it.
Because obviously there's a huge amount of CGI involved in that one scene itself, because obviously it's created, it's been digitally created. But it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and it's thoroughly brutal.
Yeah, if I think it's that good in 2D, and it was specifically made for 3D, yeah, that's going to be something else. I will one day. I'm inviting myself round to your place to watch this.
I mean, yeah, it's no problem, mate. Come round any time. Seriously, it's you'd be amazed. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. It's the only track from that whole period that they still play live, and it's a decent enough tune. You know, it's a especially for that. I mean, one thing's for sure. It's never sounded better than them smashing it out live on this movie. Frankly, it's a proper tune.
That period of Metallica, I dropped out, as did many fans. Many fans dropped out before that. Many dropped out after that. But we all come back. We all bloody come back. But I was wondering. You're not young H by then. You're experienced metal fan H. And this band that you've loved with all your heart, I can imagine many internal arguments with yourself, like one is Slayer, one is Metallica, one is Slayer, one is Metallica. And then Metallica go and deliver you Load. What's your thoughts at that period, being a Metallica fan?
Well, Load, straight off the bat, opening track, Ain't My Bitch. I mean, that is not a Metallica song title. Straight off the bat, that's jarring. I'm going, what? That's, it just, straight off the bat, I'm just thinking, really? And I got it. I didn't like the album cover. I didn't like the concept behind the album cover, Blood and Cum or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it was just like, oh, that's pretentious as fuck. I was just like, oh dear. I really tried. I really tried with it. But the issue that I've got with Load and Reload is the albums previous. Okay, so you've got Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, Black Album, right? Now, I'd say, wow, that's canon right there, right? That's canon. Load and Reload, what's this fan fiction that has fucking happened? Yeah? What's this? And it's a detour, and it's them deciding to do something different, and they had to do it, etc., etc. I understand all of that. But when you judge the high points of Load and Reload, take their very high points, and not one of those songs gets onto any of the not any. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe some of them are getting onto Kill 'Em All, but there's nothing on Load or Reload that, for me, is anywhere near as good as the high points on the previous 5 albums, and that was my issue for it. And the thing is that I was of that time. I'd been there since the beginning, and I'd listened to them, all my life up to that point. A lot of people didn't like Black Album. I loved it, and I still do, for what it is. And for what it is the fucking best there is. And that's why it still sells like 20,000 a week for some fucking reason or whatever it is, right? But then Load and Reload come along, and it's like it's the Star Wars prequels. Do you know what I mean? It's just no, fucking hell. Load and Reload, yeah. One is Jar Jar and the other is Binks, yeah. And yet Metallica will tell you that there's people who got into Metallica through Load and through Reload, and that's their favourite albums and how they discovered the band, and that's absolutely cool. That's fine. And Load and Reload don't make Master of Puppets any less brilliant. Those albums are there, but there was just a period there where they went a wandering. They went a wandering, and you look at what they put out over those years. Then there was the Garage Days revisited or whatever it was. The box set and everything. And there's like there's Merciful Fate covers in there, and there's like bits. It's like, guys, what the fuck's going on? What are you doing? Where is Metallica at these days? I don't know. Do you? Because you don't seem to know either. And then it all culminated with Jason leaving, Saint Anger the Experiment, and then getting back to what they, in my opinion, are best at. Death Magnetic is the follow-up to the Black Album in my strange little world. But, I mean, I still remember when Metallica started playing fast again. Literally, they said, it was time to play fast again. And that's, which they do a few times on Saint Anger. And it was, and I just felt that Load and Reload was an overreaction to their thrash roots. And Hetfield talks about when he went into rehab and all the rest of it, and when he came out, and they started playing shows again, and he wouldn't swear live. He refused to swear, and I saw him interviewed a long time after that, and he went, "Yeah, for listeners, I will try and explain this so it makes sense." But he said, "Yeah, when I first came back, I was over here, way over to the left, whereas when I'd gone into rehab, I was over here, way over to the right, and where I actually need to be is somewhere in the middle." So when he came back, he was the exact opposite of who went into rehab. Well, that was not the good thing either. And it was like, no, where you need to be is in the middle. And that is, for me, where we ended up with Death Magnetic and although I'm not a fan of Hardwired, with Hardwired as well. It's literally, they went from one end of the spectrum to the other. And it's like, right, we've done the ultimate, really fucking incredibly heavy music. Let's do something different now. Let's kiss each other in videos. Let's look like Junkyard on the back of our of Load. I mean, they do. They just look like and you were saying visually. Visually, Load, I had a problem with it. And you turn it over, and there they are, sat playing cards with whiskey, looking like some fucking 80s glam, not glam band, but like, sort of bluesy, metally, just shit. I was just looking at it like, what? Where are the Misfits t-shirts? Where are the denims? Jesus Christ. No, this is awful. Ugh.
I wasn't put off by the look. I will always pre-order the new Metallica and then make my decision, as I think anyone should if you're a long-time fan of a band. Make your decision, unless you're a fan of Danzig, maybe. But what I would say is that, you've got to be in it to have that opinion. And I wasn't put off by that. You could see that being the biggest band in the world is going to affect people in crazy ways that I could never fathom. Ever, ever, ever. So what is that going to do to someone? What is having everything you've ever dreamed of and more, and then way more? How can that affect you? And of course, you're going to go bonkers.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to make the music bonkers, which is, where I am with you. I didn't dig it at all. But I think Fuel's definitely got its place in this film, 100%.
Yes.
But then they destroy it. Their next choice, Ride the Lightning. Oh. They destroy Fuel. It's like, forget it. Like, what a flipping song. And I've got to talk to you here about the Teslas for a start. That stage show, can you imagine being in there and the smell of all that lightning flying through the room? Amazing. But also the camera work here is so slick. It's so incredible. Like, I'm watching this in awe because I can't believe that this is a concert show. And being a fan of rock and metal, I've seen a lot of them. And nothing compares. And I know this is for the big screen and it's a movie rather than just a concert film. But it separates the men from the boys. It really does.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's the most incredible thing. I mean, there is a rather seriously named area around the chair that comes down, the lightning chair that comes down, and the Teslas. It's called the kill zone, which if you stand in it, you will die. And it's like, it's so fucking cool. And when you see in rehearsals, you see the first time that they do the chair, and like James turns round. I think it's Kirk, and he just turns around and he goes, "That's fucking awesome!" And he just look at him and he's like, "Dude, you're 12. I know that exact feeling." There is James Hetfield, multi-platinum selling artist in his 50s. And he's just going, fucking get it! Look at that! Look at that chair with lightning! Hey, ride the lightning! Lightning! Get it? It's fucking amazing! And I just love that. I absolutely love it. And one of the most amazing amazing facts about this is that for that song, they have to go to an analog desk. So all of the whole sound system...
of course, yeah.
The whole sound system would just fucking... Just pack up. Digital just goes... gone. And the thing is, they didn't realise that the first time they tested it. So the band are playing, and they go, right, go on. And someone switches it on, and everything just goes... gone. And literally, the band are just like strumming guitars, and Lars is there like... Dun-ch, what the fuck? So they had to use an analog desk for that one song to be able to make it work, which again is just like the insane attention. Well, not attention to detail, but just the insane details behind. You see that chair come down, it goes, and you think, oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, it's really cool. Oh, that looks really good. Great. And then you carry on watching Kurt playing guitar solo, and you just think, well, you know that that you just looked at and went, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, that took about a year to make, and then it took about another 6 months of figuring out how they could actually get it to work in the song without destroying everything. Oh, and it might kill you. And you just looked at it for 10 seconds and went, oh yeah, that's all right. Oh, look, Kirk's playing the solo. It's insane.
What a solo that he plays. This is my favourite solo from the whole gig. Absolutely destroys that. Again, makes me feel like I'm 14, jumping on my bed, banging my head. It's amazing. But yeah, I think what's James like on his deathbed? Is he going to think, oh, that's 4 million that I could have had? Or is he going to be thinking, those are facts. You remember that lightning going through the air? That was just incredible. What's he going to remember? Like, it's not important. Like, when you've got that much cash, do it. And yeah, you're right. His reaction is priceless.
It is. And also there is some there's some foreshadowing going on in this song as well for people who thinking we've forgotten to talk about the movie. There's some foreshadowing that's going on in this, because there's a imitation mic going down. So Hetfield is singing into a mic, and it cuts out, and he just goes and he like throws it down. First little bit of acting.
We'll get to the next bit.
Yeah. So he gets the mic and he throws the mic down and walks off, and it's a little bit of foreshadowing about what's to come. And funnily enough, I've got two things about this section written down, and they are: one, mention the crowd. They are loving it, and they are the 3D backdrop to the event, because as you were saying earlier, there's some great t-shirts in there and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, the band are playing, and then you've got thousands of uncredited actors. Yeah, you've got these people who are in the movie, who went to a gig, and they're there, they're in the fucking movie, and they are providing an amazing backdrop. And the other thing about it as well is, it's the that's part of the worlds of music and film colliding. Then there's another aspect to it, which is, you see those crew guys. Oh, they are Metallica's crew. They're not actors playing crew. So what's film and what's gig? And do you know what I mean? I just love the aspects where it's all getting kind of jumbled up together, and it's all working.
It's those crane shots. They're so flipping good.
Yeah.
Like, there was one part where I was like, was that guy wearing a Doom? You know, the UK sort of crusty band from the 80s, Doom. I swear I saw a Doom t-shirt. So I'm looking at that, and before you know it, I'm missing what's going on stage, because like the crowd is so animated. Yeah, you're completely right. It's yet another character in this film, as cliche thing as that is to say.
Yeah.
It is true in this circumstance, because your eyes are darting all around. It's really clever. Like, I'm really impressed. From Ride the Lightning onwards, I'm seeing that as like the finale of the film, and really we're halfway at that point, I think. Yeah,
but that's the really weird thing about it as well, is that because you're watching a movie within a musical live performance, it's like, right, okay, so I'm bound to the set list, but there is also a movie structure within the set list, and which is more important? And the brilliant aspect of it is they're never fighting against each other. Do you know what I mean? When you're watching the gig, you're thinking, oh, this is fucking awesome. And then you go away from the gig and you go, oh, this is really cool. I like what they're doing here. And then you go, oh, back to the gig again. Oh, I fucking love this song. Oh, listen to that solo. Oh, shit, look where he is now. Oh, what's happening now? And it's one constant, like, barrage of the senses. And I've seen it countless times, and it gets me every time. It really does. And the other thing that's worth mentioning at this point as well, because I was quite surprised when I got the double disc. I've got my Blu-ray, I've got my 3D Blu-ray. That was the most important thing. Okay, I've got it on Blu-ray as well. What's missing? Well, what's missing is, where is the concert DVD without the movie?
Right.
Doesn't exist. Because... And because I thought at the time when it came out, and it was there's plenty of room on those discs to have included it, but I think it is clearly, it's the band's movie, it's the band's decision, and the band have said, nope. If you want a Metallica concert movie, then go buy one of the many others that we've put out. This is our vision. This is a concert film and a narrative movie wrapped up together. We have spent shitloads of money on it. This is our vision, and we don't care what you want. You can't have this stage and this live set without the movie. We're not letting you have that. At the time, I was a bit disappointed, but now I think, yeah, absolutely the right call, and good on them for making it, because they'll have been under pressure. They'll have definitely been under pressure to say, look, there's tons of room on these discs. Why don't you package the movie up into a little 45-minute movie, and then why don't you, and nope. It's the movie. That's what it is, and that's all anyone's getting. And I think that's a great decision.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to talk about the next song, which is One. And I've got a thing about this. Whenever One starts up, I mean, it's no Bread fan. So whenever it starts up, I'm like, oh, it's One. And then when you get to that halfway point, when that instrumental comes in, I don't think there's, for my money, ever been a better thrash moment. Everything I love about Metallica is in that second half of that song. Everything. And when I heard that, I just thought to myself as a young lad, I'm never going to have this moment again. You know, when you get those few in life where you and music just become one thing, and you're just like, this is heaven to me. Yeah. And One does it. It's so weird that at the beginning of it, I think, I've got to get through the song, which I loved as a kid. But now I'm like, I've got to get through the song before we get to that amazing bit. So two things here. There's a really important part of the non-Metallica part of the film coming up, so we'll talk about that in a sec. But I just want to know, hearing One for the first time, was it that invigorating for you?
I mean, this is the weird thing, right? I mean, bearing in mind this is pre-internet days, I mean, fucking hell, it's, this is like fax and cassette tape days. But even in those days, as a Metallica fan, you knew there was going to be a song on Injustice for All that was pretty fucked up and was about a guy who was completely fucked up. And you knew what it was called, and it was like, wow. So when you get to that song, I don't consciously remember the first time I heard One. I kind of remember listening to the whole album as a whole. But I do remember thinking fucking hell, that is a bit special. But what I remember probably the most about that song is Adam was staying with me at the time. Well, I was living at home with my mum and dad, and Adam was staying as well. We'd got band stuff to do, and we went into Harrogate on the morning. I can't remember what day it was, but we went into Harrogate on the morning to buy 2 of One, the video cassette.
Yeah.
Of the 2 versions of the video, and we went in to Harrogate, got it, came back, sat down, watched it, and was just like, fucking hell. Because I'd only seen the video, I think, once maybe, and I'm not sure, I don't know if I'd even seen it. But I just remember just going like, oh my God, you know, that is fucking amazing. In fact, I must have seen the video, because otherwise I wouldn't have gone out and got it. But I remember...
But you never get to see Metallica at that point, do you?
No.
They're not on... They've no videos. This is it. This is Fast Fans. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first ever video they've ever done. And so you've got to own it. It was just incredible. They fully... You know, they're just still delivering. They're still fucking smashing it, you know? And I just remember thinking, wow. To this day, if I watch the one video, I'll start tearing up, without a doubt. I mean, it is, how can I put it? It's beautiful in its brutality. It's just so fucking needless. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you didn't need to do this. You didn't need to... This song, the lyrics and everything, that's enough, yeah? But then you've just gone and, like, you know... It's like, it's just gone and kicked me in the balls again with the video, which is just incredible. And I think maybe, that's the closest thing to Through the Never, all the way back then, is something that is just... Yeah, that one video just absolutely moves me. And the other version of one that completely moves me is on S&M 1. Because your favourite section there, that being played by Metallica and 116 other musicians who have all spent their lives dedicated to learning the craft of their instrument. And so you have 120 musicians all playing that section. And some are following the band, and the others are doing the string arrangement over the top. And it is, without doubt, hands down, the most majestic piece of heavy metal has ever been fucking made. It's just... To me, it's astounding. And to me, the version with the orchestra is heavier than just the band on their own. I mean, how could it not be? It's insane. Just, yeah, what a song.
I haven't heard S&M for a long time.
Oh, that section is just... It's just head melting. It really is. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And Michael Kamen was just a genius. And, you know, the thing about Michael Kamen is you realise how much of a genius he is when you hear S&M 2. Because you hear the arrangements he did back to back with arrangements other people have done. They pale into insignificance.
I thought for one moment that I'd seen Through the Never at the cinema, but I've just realised I didn't. I saw S&M 2 at the cinema. That's what happened.
Well, I did see Through the Never at the cinema in 3D IMAX with a fucking massive sound system, and it was awesome. And just when the movie had finished, and we were looking at each other going, "Wow, wow!" And we were all going, "No, well, that was good, that was good." And suddenly you hear, "Bang!" and it's fucking Rob cranking out his dirty fucking tone, and then we just all sat and watched the band play Orion. And anyway, that's probably for the end of the end of the
We'll get there.
One.
Visually,
the strafing gunfire at the beginning of the song, you know, the use, because if you've seen Metallica live, you know they do it, right? You hear the gunfire, and you hear like one puff of smoke and one loud bang, and the band come in, right? And then you're watching this and you're going, fucking hell, Jesus! There are literally planes like machine gunning the stage, because they've added lasers in and they've added little smoke pots. So literally every bullet that hits the stage has an effect to it. And the way the lasers do it's you know, there's a great Slayer lyric, strafed by machine gun fire, and that stage is strafed by machine gun fire. It's just like, fucking hell, wow. They just took, again, they took what they normally do and they just went through the roof with it for the movie. And that is, yeah, it's awesome. Awesome.
It's the one moment the crowd looks like they're in danger, I think.
Yeah.
It looks fucking frightening. I had to turn that bit down. It really did. It ramped everything up with good reason, because going on in the background or in the foreground, depending on how you're looking at this film, you've got that riot going on.
Not quite. As one starts, there is the drowning man motif that appears a few times in the movie. Yeah, the guy in water. And it's shot from underneath.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that is Trip in the crowd feeling thirsty, I don't know. Not quite sure. Not quite sure what that motif is. But what I really like is, whilst the guitar intro is playing, whilst the one intro is playing, outside on the street, Trip sees like a guy who's running away in terror. And the weird thing is, it's kind of strange because you've got this beautiful acoustic guitar, but on screen you've got somebody running away in terror. And it's the juxtaposition of those two things that, if it was a movie, it wouldn't work. Yeah? It's like, no.
Yeah.
The soundtrack's broken. You can't have somebody running away in terror and this lovely melodic acoustic guitar. It makes no sense. But that's how this movie works.
What's the police car on fire? What's that represent?
I think that represents somebody has set fire to a police car. Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it meant to signify? I think the significance is, oh fuck me, like the police car is driving away from whatever is coming that way. It's like watching a horror film, yeah, and the rats are running away. Well, if the rats are running away from something, then it is fucking terrifying. Because rats, and birds flying away. It's the old Steven Spielberg, animals running away from stuff kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, it's meant to signify shit.
Yeah.
Shit. What are they running from? So when you see a police car that's on fire, travelling away in the direction of everybody else who is also running away, I think it's like, right, okay, that's probably not something good that's coming from there.
Yeah.
One last thing about One, and I don't know if I was actually watching it too carefully and I was trying to read too much in it, but the vast majority of One is shot in blue and red, the same colours, two colours as The Pill.
Good spot.
Cheers.
That's not an accident.
No.
Yeah, that is for a reason. And I think there's a lot of ideas that have been stuck in there, but they don't always follow throughout the whole film.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, literally, you could imagine Kirk going, hey, why don't we light this section of One in red and blue, like The Pill is at the beginning? And I go, yeah, okay, that's cool. There's no subtext to it. It's just like, someone had an idea, thought it'd be cool. Yeah, chuck it in. Why not?
This Memory Remains
Yes.
song. It's the one moment on the whole thing where I'm not really into it. Now, I don't mind the song. I don't mind Marianne Faithfull in the video. I love that. I just don't think it works as a Metallica song, much like Ain't My Bitch as a Metallica title. There's something about this song that just doesn't work for me, but every fan will have a different song, a different thing. I get it. I love the video to it. But as I say, what I wanted was to get back with Trip, and you shouldn't be feeling that when you're watching a Metallica movie. You should be wanting to be really involved in a song. The only bit of it I loved was the crowd petition. My God, help me out.
Participation.
You're the dude. That's why you're on here. Bloody hell. But yeah, that, again, tingles.
Yeah.
Like, it did feel like it was, hang on, this is Iron Maiden's thing, but it still works in that context.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? You must have been in a Metallica crowd when everyone is doing that.
Yes, and it's awesome. I love it. I mean, I love the Metallica live concert that they did from Nimes in France, from the Roman amphitheatre.
That was amazing.
That is a great one, and the memory remains. That's the first time that they captured that properly, and it's awesome, and it is the highlight of the song without a doubt. And it sums up the Load era and the Load and the Reload era for me, which is just like the song itself is a hodgepodge of ideas. Oh, get Marianne Faithfull in, yeah, fuck it, why not? And it's like, yeah, it's all right, it's okay. That's not what I want from Metallica. I don't want to be sat here talking about a Metallica song going, yeah, it's all right, it's okay.
Sure.
But that ship had fucking sailed by the time that song had come out. It had disappeared over the horizon. But the way the song translates in the movie is, again, by the way, you look at the stage set again. The lights that come up, those big arms that come up for this song, that are representative of the video to the song. I think that's amazing, absolutely amazing. And again, Trip, whilst on his trip, walking through the streets, one of the lights blows. Again, it's foreshadowing of events to come on stage.
Yep.
One of the lights blows. And I think it's a call back to when they did The Burning Guy the first time. Okay? And when one of the light goes, Trip is walking down the street and the street light blows. Because he's in the venue. Because he's watching the gig.
Yeah.
So basically, nearly every single effect that happens on stage whilst Metallica are on also plays out and is reflected in Trip's world. So he's either, in a parallel universe where Metallica's music is so powerful, it's radiating. I mean, that's the other way of looking at it. Well, not the other way. There's loads of ways of looking at it, but maybe it is all genuine. And he's taken a headache pill, and it's all for real. It's just Metallica's music is so powerful, it's radiating out through the city, and they do an effect in the venue, and boom, it happens across the other side of the city as well because they're Metallica, bitch.
I can't see why that wouldn't be the reason.
Well, I've often been in a city that Metallica have been playing and noticed all sorts of crazy things happening.
Right, you mentioned this, and I'm not sure about it. Wherever I may roam. Yeah. So, as far as I can tell in this film, there's the intro to it.
Yeah, they don't play the song. Yeah,
and then the song doesn't happen.
It's their only concession to cinema. Really, to properly, because they've absolutely used the right part of the right song to set up the gang versus the riot squad. Yeah, so you've got that, and all the riot police going like hitting their riot shields in time with Wherever I May Roam, and you're just like, this just fucking works. I want to go into the street and kick the shit out of a policeman. It just absolutely works. But the thing is that happens, and then there's a pause, and then Cyanide comes in, which is what they're playing. They're playing the show. Yeah. Then Cyanide comes in, and that's when they all the crowds run to each other, and it all starts kicking off. You
see this Mad Max style baddie on his horse. He turns up. I'm sure he's probably got a real name, but I call him Mad Max Dude. And he's lynching one of the rioters.
Yeah, and just, boom, lynches him like it's nothing.
It's mad, right? That is some imagery that you don't see every day. Just the setup costs, let alone actually pulling that off. It must be extraordinary. So, yeah, really cinematic. I'm really into this film at this point. As I say, I want to know what's going on. I'm so into the whole fantasy of it, maybe until the end. But what's your thoughts seeing this guy? Do you think he's a good baddie?
Well, I think up to this point, right, it's been about unseen threat. So malevolence has been referred to, and that there is a dark presence somewhere that has driven the police away, and the bloody face has run away from the horse as well. That's a brilliant touch. The white horse dragging the riot policeman. That is great. And then you see, the police are stood there and they're tapping their riot shields, in time with Wherever I May Roam, and you think, oh, there's going to be a fight, and the two sides run at each other and they're punching each other, and you're thinking, it's kicking off a bit, and then from nowhere, some mad cunt on a horse turns up and just fucking lynches somebody from a street light, and you just go, okay. I think. Am I okay with this? He did just hang a guy in the street from a lamppost. And it's kind of like, I remember the first time I see it, and you're still watching it, like in the cinemas watching it, and you just go like, well, it's got a bit of a left turn here, isn't it? Christ. Yeah, it is. It's one of them all. What the fuck? And I remember thinking like, right, okay, so this is full on. There's like no punches are being pulled here. It's absolute, and that riot is fucking violent. I mean, I like a bit of action and a bit of violence as much as the next man, and it is. But there's some properly violent clashes in it. And the thing is, because it's done as like an urban riot, it's not just people having a fight in the street. It's people using street furniture as weapons. It's somebody being thrown through a glass bus stop, and they're thrown through it, yes. and all the glass shatters, and when you see it, you're literally, in my head, you're going like, ouch, fuck, that has got to hurt. That'll smart in the morning, and then you see somebody else. I don't know why, but the vision of somebody drowning somebody else in an ornamental fountain, I always find that a bit disturbing, because again, it's like, I've seen many ornamental fountains. I have good feelings about them. I see an ornamental fountain and I think, that's nice. I don't think, drown someone in that. And you see it and you're like, oh, fuck me, that's like, okay, juxtaposition and all that, but that's made me feel a bit awkward. But the real kind of like, for me, I don't want to say genius because it's too much, but for me, there's a brilliant aspect to this whole, because this is all kicking off. It's very violent, and a guy just got hung, and this is all getting a bit. You feel like it's getting out of hand, like a riot does. Nobody plans a riot. No one goes, let's have a riot, because the whole point is it's a riot, isn't it? If you plan it, it's not a riot. Riots just happen. And this is just absolutely kicked off. And then for 2 seconds, you are transported into the lobby of an office building that is looking out on the ground level of everything that's going on. And all you can hear, the band disappear from the soundtrack, all the fighting just goes muffled into the background, and it's like you're stood in the lobby of an office building listening to music, listening to the... And then it's boom, you're back at it, and that one little bit of comedy, that one little breath of air stops you from suffocating. Do you know what I mean? It stops it from being really oppressive and going like, fuck me, I'm not sure about this, because it's gone very violent and someone just got hung from a lamppost, and like I don't think this is what I signed up for. I didn't expect this when Creeping Death kicked in, but that bit there, that whole section, I think is probably my favourite section of the whole movie. I think the whole riot, everything, I think it's just fucking brilliant. It's so well executed. I am going to agree. And the next bit that follows is also one of my favourite bits, but because it's one of the most disturbing parts of the film, in case that wasn't disturbing enough. Are you talking about, you think he's safe, you think Tripp's escaped this, he turns the corner, and then there are, I think 11, I counted, people lynched and hanging. It turns out that one person you saw just getting hung like a sack of wheat. I don't know why I've gone with that analogy.
Beautiful.
I don't live on a farm. I've never been a farmer. But you just see that person just hung like a doll, like there's just for and it doesn't seem to matter. It's like it, and you just think, wow, that's brutal, that's horrible. But then that's gone after the riot and everything else. And then, like you say, he walks around the corner and you think he's escaped. And all of a sudden, there's 11 people. I didn't count them, but thank you for doing the hard work.
8.
There's your maths is better than your pronunciation skills.
Appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah, you just go like, the music's faded away into the background, and this guy is just, and it is eerie, to say the least. It's disconcerting, it is uncomfortable, and what I like about this, oh god, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? What I like about all of these people hanging from lampposts, what I like about the scene is the fact that our character, that our man on his trip, is repulsed by this. He's gagging, and he's trying not to look up. But and I think Dane DeHaan does a great job here, because what he does is he does that car crash thing. There's a car crash over there. Oh, there's a car crash. Don't look at the car crash. Do not look at the car. That's hideous. Don't look. See that over there? That's hideous. I'm going to have another look. And he's literally, and he's sort of going. Yep. He's going like, oh, that's awful. Yeah, that's really awful. Yeah, and it's like, it's almost like, yeah, that's the perfect reaction, and that's how it feels watching it. That is exactly how I felt. The way he feels, like, whoa, that's.
In any other film that I choose in like a top 10 for my lists for a year in horror, that scene would never be out of place. In fact, it would be the highlight of whatever film I'm watching. It's so well executed, and you're right. Trip is you. You want to gag. I can only imagine in 3D again, like just how amazing that looks.
It's quite nice, I have to say. Well, it's not quite nice. It is.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Those hanging bodies. Yeah. It is. It's fucking brilliant. Bear in mind as well, it's worth pointing out at this juncture as well, that Trip is still carrying the gasoline can.
Yeah, of course.
He's still carrying his gasoline can. And something that I mused upon, Mad Max character. Well,
yep.
Why the living fuck is he on a horse if he's not one of the four horsemen? They're in an urban location. They are in a city centre. Yeah, King of the Riots is not going to go, do you know what? I'm going to leave my Trans Am at home today. I'm going to take fucking Rover the horse. Do you know what? I'm going to take Dapple. I'm going to take Mr. Ed. Do you know what I mean? Because if there's one thing you need to get around town if you're in a riot, it's a horse.
He is on another plane, though. He is in this fantasy world.
Yes.
So it is everything that you would normally go, oh, going to have to suspend my disbelief again. You're forgiving because you're already there, but you're allowed to. They've already let you do that from that pill scene. So, away you go with the horses,
Yeah.
Like, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, also, because Cyanide is the soundtrack to the riot, it's the first time that we see the coffin lights in the stage back at the gig. That amazing stage we were talking about, well, it also extends into the fucking lighting rig, and there is coffins that have got huge digital screen, well, basically coffin-shaped digital screens, and the people,
so good.
And the people in those coffins, or the actors who did the acting for being in the coffin, did the whole song and did many takes of the whole song. And apparently, the actors who did that were ringing the director Nimrod and telling him that was like some of them like had bruises for days because they constructed coffins for them to get in and thrash about for like 5 minutes, and that's So it's just again the attention to detail, but brilliant. Those coffins with the people trapped in them is just. It's creepy as fuck, and it's great.
Yeah, my wife was okay with the lynchings, but when she saw that, she went, "Oh, that's gross."
I'll tell you what. There's something to put on the poster. My wife was okay with the lynchings.
Just edit that on a loop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're into the final stretch, but it's still quite the stretch. You've got such a long song next, and Justice for All, again, one of my favourite Metallica songs. But the thing that I pick up from this is James doing his acting bit again and directing the builders that are building Lady Justice.
Yeah,
I laughed.
Yeah, but that's it, isn't it? It's a bit of light relief. It is James taking the piss. You know, it is. He's having a laugh. And the funny thing is, as well, is that Doris, Lady Justice, they all went. When they're constructing the stage and they're going to have all these effects, and they all went, "Oh yeah," and of course Doris. Well, yeah, we did that years ago. No problem. We'll get Doris out. Yeah, that'll work fine. No, spent 4 or 5 months trying to get Doris to work properly, to fall apart correctly. They had to put fucking guards up in front of where the guitars are kept, because Doris's head fell off the stage once, and
it does look random. Yeah, so it looks random when she falls.
It is random. Yeah, it's totally random. But they had to put up barriers because Doris's head nearly smashed all Kirk's guitars. So it's like, and Mr. Guitar Roadie was completely unimpressed by that. But yeah, it's awesome. It's a great effect, and the way it's done. But yeah, James directing it cracks me up. It really does. But it's great. Yeah, that is a top tune. And at that point as well, for Justice, it signifies just a slight shift towards the live set, and just paying more attention to the band at that point. We kind of go back to the arena to watch the band for quite a while because it's a long song. So you want to get it absolutely spot on, and it's great. I loved it.
Okay, we've got an incident that happens though with Trip. He finally achieves his goal. He gets the bag. But the driver of the truck or the van where he gets his van, this driver is terrified. Yeah, and it's not explained what he's terrified of.
Yeah, it's also not explained why Trip has still got a fucking can of gasoline, which he's been carrying around with him everywhere. He's still got it, and
Maybe it will come up later. Who knows? Yeah.
Oh, who knows? Maybe there'll be a use for it.
So he's got this bag. Right, straight away. What's in the bag?
Not a clue.
Brilliant. Sorted that.
I don't think there's. It's like Pulp Fiction. What's in the briefcase. Yeah. It's not about what's in the briefcase. If that's what you're focusing on, the film has failed.
Damn it! Stupid Metallica.
But I've just got this vision. Of Nimrod, like going through the story when he first gets it, and I've just got this vision of Kirk putting his hand up and going, "In the truck is a bag, and we never find out what's in it." And Nimrod goes, "Cool, okay." And Kirk's like, "Excellent. I always wanted to be in a film where there was something in a bag and no one knew what it was."
Well, it makes Trip feel ill and like sit back and have a rethink, or stuns him so much that he can't stand on his own legs. So whatever it is, whatever. Okay, I've got a question for you now, and this is my one that I want to know most about you personally.
Right. Okay.
So, March 1988, Acid Rain release Moshkinstein.
Indeed.
So, the world is yours at that time. You're living your own dream. UK thrash album is out there. Fantastic label, fantastic mini album, if you will. 5 months later, Metallica putting out And Justice for All. this is a time that, as a thrasher, fan, member of the band or whatever, that this is a heyday. This is a unique time in history for music. It will never happen again. What time to be a fan, right? And you're in the middle of it. Take us back to that period and sort of like what you were feeling, being part of this massive thing at a time when people that were into rock are suddenly switching over to thrash in their hundreds per week, thousands per week. Must have been amazing.
Well, the thing is that when you look back on it and you know that was happening, because history tells you that was happening, but at the time, you don't know that's happening. At the time, you're just like, are we going to get another album? I mean, we've signed a deal for 3, but it's the music business, you know, they're not legally bound to... Do you know what I mean? It's like, we're going to sign you for 3 albums, but if your first album's shit, it will be a 1-album deal. You know, that's the music business for you. So, at the time, you're just thinking like, you know, where's the next gig? Where's the next meal coming from? But I do remember we were recording The Fear when And Justice for All came out. So wow. we actually had it in the studio. I think I played a little bit of it to our producer, Uncle Bastard, and he was like, "Fucking hell, that's just fucking mad." Because straight away, like, the production is just insane on that album for many reasons. But it was weird. I remember thinking that, and Justice for All just come out, and we were playing. We were talking about it in the control room. We were talking about what we thought to it and all the rest of it. And I think. Uncle Bastard, I think he turned around at some point and he was like, are this lot, Metallica, this lot, are they sort of rivals of yours? Are they sort of like, you know, contemporaries? I think we all sort of looked at each other like, no. Do you know what I mean? No, you know, no more than the Queen is a contemporary of yours. Do you know, it's like, no, God, no. Because they were still, you know, it was like they're on another planet. They're Metallica. They're over there, right? So we weren't, you know, we're not like, well, yeah, actually, because we're a thrash band and they're a thrash band. So yeah, they're peers of ours. And it's like, not really. No, they're the originators. They're the creators. They are the gods of this genre that we are lucky enough to be playing in. I remember being on tour with Nuclear Assault and John Connolly saying to me, we were having a chat, and he said, you know what, Howard? We're all just hanging on to Metallica's coattails. That's all any of us are doing. That's why we're on tour in Europe right now. No one would give a shit about our bands if it wasn't for Metallica. And I remember thinking, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think really I've probably got more of a sense of perspective and where we were and you know, actually being in that scene. I think I've actually got more of a perspective of it now than I did at the time. You know, it's like, I think it's like anything else in life. If you look back on a relationship you were in and you look back on it and you have complete and total clarity of that relationship now, whereas when you were in it, you were all over the fucking place. You didn't know what was going on. You weren't quite sure. And I think it's the same thing. You know, it's the same when you're in it, you're just in it, and you're thinking no further ahead than tomorrow. You know, I've always said, you know, look after today and tomorrow will take care of itself. And it's, you know, take care of all of the minutes and all of the time. And you know, and everything will be all right, you know. And so I tend not to look back, and I don't look too far forward, because now is what's important and when's important. And if you take care of now, then tomorrow will be fine. So there you go, a long, winding answer, I guess.
I loved it. That's great. Because at the time, I was that fan, even though I did have Master of Puppets on a cassette that someone did for me. It wasn't until and Justice for All came out, that I was there on the day one buying it. So it was between them two where I got introduced to the whole thing. You were there before that. So to see this thing that was really underground suddenly become not overground, it was never like your mum and dad would go, oh, look at Lars today. What a guy. Like, they weren't doing that. But at the same time, it was suddenly in the lexicon. You would see other people in the high street, you know, in battle jackets and things. It was a great time for me.
I can identify with that. Yeah, I can identify with that. I can identify with, like, but I'm a music snob. I think anyone who's into metal is a music snob to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I remember reading there was a study that said that the two music fans who are most similar are fans of heavy metal and fans of classical, and the reason they are the most similar is that they believe they have a far superior taste in music to everybody else.
Yes,
and,
spot on.
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a snob. Do you know what I mean? So when you it's the same old story, isn't it? If you've been with a band since day one and they start getting big, you're just like, fuck off. They're my band, not yours. Fuck off. So, but I had that very early because my favourite band that got me into music in the first place at the time was Marillion. And I got into Marillion when, on the first album, when very few people were really into them. And by the time the third album comes out and goes to number one, and Punch and Judy comes out on the second album and is a top 30 single, and I'm already starting to get annoyed with everybody. So it was like, I'm a music snob, and I didn't think, oh, this is great. I just thought, why don't you all fuck off? You don't belong here. Which is also totally redundant thinking when you're in a band and your whole point is to sell records. Do you know what I mean?
New fans.
Yeah. And I don't know. No, we were less fans.
Moving on, in the film, I spot a Liverpool Football Club T-shirt in the crowd.
Good spot. I didn't spot that. No, good spot.
I was quite proud of that one. Master of Puppets starts up, but I'm more interested. I've seen them play it so many times. I've listened to that song so many times. I'm more interested in what's actually going on with Trip here. So I don't know if you have anything to say about the actual song at that point before I go into Trip.
Well, I don't know. Should we do a call back to it being my favourite Metallica song? I don't know why I'd want to talk about that.
Don't know why. Yeah. They don't do bread fans, so.
I mention purely for the crosses coming out of the stage.
Oh yeah.
And there's a scene where Hetfield is stood in front of one of the crosses, and he's stood legs akimbo, riffing like a motherfucker, like only James can, with that fucking right forearm of doom, just fucking killing it. And he's all in black. He's got no extra timber. He is like shredded. They're all shredded and all wearing black, and all wearing black as well, the most slimming colour. And James is just stood there riffing out in front, like with his back to the cross, and it has to be one of the most fucking awesome metal images I've seen. And for an incredibly cool guy, he just that is, if I was James Hetfield, I would be saying, frame that and only ever use that picture of me for anything. Okay? Because it is just so fucking cool. It is just immense. It's just brilliant. And that's the effect that takes place in this song. And again, it's just fucking brilliant. But
there is a big journey from that spotty oik on the back of Kill 'Em All to how he looks in this movie. Yeah. He is sexy as fuck in this movie.
He's fucking, yeah.
It's unbelievable the journey this guy's gone on. And I know a lot of money may well have gone into it. Who am I to say? But yeah, he's a hottie. Let's talk about Trip. Mad Max Horseman, he's back. it looks like this crowd has got the better of Trip. He's run himself into a dead end. What are you going to do at that point? How are you going to get out of this?
I mean, I don't know, mate. I mean, I don't know about you, right? But I mean, he's run away from them, and he's run to a big fence, and he's thought, oh fuck me, what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to climb over the fence because all these fuckers are chasing me. But you know what? When I climb over this fence, I'm not just going to climb over it. I'm going to throw this fucking needless can of gasoline I've been carrying with me for an hour. I'm going to throw that over first, because the last thing you want to do when you're running for your life is leave your can of gasoline behind. So,
no way would you want to be doing that.
So he's chucked that over the fence. He's got it, and it's a dead end. You're right, and this fence he can't climb over, and his back is literally to the wall/fence, and it's now is the time for shit. What's up here? What's he going to do now? This is like, fuck.
Yes.
Well, I did not see this coming. You'll be glad to know that this doesn't look any different in 3D. What did you think when you first saw it? When he's like, okay, he's going the nuclear option here.
Do you know what? I thought that's the end of the film until I looked on the back and I saw there was more songs to go. I just thought, oh, maybe the rest is a concert film. You know, maybe that's the end of Trip. That, in all honesty, that's what I thought.
Right.
Very wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yeah, because he decides to basically torch himself. He turns himself into a human torch, which, as you can imagine, absolutely thrilled the people who had to try and deliver that scene, because you've got a guy on fire for 30 seconds fighting.
Yes.
Which apparently is a lot harder to deliver than it might sound. So again, fucking fair fucks. It's the old if we're going to do this, we're going to do this properly. And I love the fact that he puts his hoodie up, and he pulls his bandana up. By the way, massive commercial mistake by Metallica here. The minute COVID-19 hit, they should have been making those bandanas with the band on from the cover. Yep. I'd have had one of those. I'd have been walking around with a hooded top on, setting myself on fire as well, probably. I'm sure Donald Trump would think that would be a cure for fucking COVID.
Well, it would cure you in one way.
It would, wouldn't it? The kind of way I'd like to cure Donald Trump. But purely from an action scene, it's a fucking brilliant scene. And the fact that Battery it kicks in at the beginning of this. So the acoustic intro to Battery is happening, and whilst that's happening, it's lit, the hood's going up and the mask is, and then Battery kicks in and he starts battering people. What more do you want?
See what they did there. It works.
Yeah. Assault and battery. It's going on.
Hey.
My whole life I've been waiting for that moment when it all starts to make sense.
We got a truck that's out of gas in the city. You gotta find it, and we got something the band needs tonight, okay? So get them back, and you know what to do.
Another night, another show. I do what they tell me. I go where they send me. But sometimes the moment that changes everything is the one you never see coming.
Trip's dead at this point, as far as I know. As far as I'm aware. That's that. And then we got Nothing Else Matters coming in. Compared to everything else, I found it a little bit uneventful in the movie stuff.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of like... Well, again, we only get a little bit of it, don't we?
True. We
only get a little bit of it. I mean, that's a fairly standard Metallica live arrangement, isn't it? A bit of Nothing Else Matters that then goes into Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for quite a while now. And it works from a musical point of view.
I think this is a point where they're thinking we have to give the fans something. Being such a... when I say the fans, not like the hardcore fans, I think giving the fans that would just be going to see a metal band at a gig, they know Metallica songs, that is going to be one that they know. And to do the double whammy with Enter Sandman, all bets are off now. Like, everyone's covered. You've got the fly-by-night fans, you've got the hardcore fans. Everyone loves a bit of Enter Sandman towards the end of a Metallica set. Brilliant, here we go. But hold on a second. Trip wakes up. He's on a roof.
Yes.
Right. This is where this film goes mental. This is where this film belongs in this podcast. From here on, what's going on with Trip, I think it's really special. I think that I'm well jealous that you get to see it all in 3D. And yeah, I just think it's something that I've not seen before. And it's done really well. I'm still a bit confused by the marionette, so I'd like you to maybe give me an idea of what's going on there. But apart from that, yeah, come on, give me your take on this whole thing.
Well, it takes place on the roof of a multi-storey car park, and he, like you say, he wakes up there magically, and I think that for me really does accentuate that, you know, this magical trip that Trip has been on. You see, the dual meaning of the name there, you know, is he called Trip because he goes on a trip? Well, yes, but which trip are you talking about? And the fact that he sets himself on fire and then wakes up on the roof of a multi-storey car park that a bloke on horseback has managed. Can you imagine trying to get a horse onto the roof of a multi-storey car park? Can you imagine, right? Get on a horse, right? Get through the barrier. Excuse me. Well, you jump the barrier, wouldn't you? Right? So you jump the barrier, right? The horse has got metal shoes. That horse is going fucking what? It's sliding all over the place. And you're going to be going, right, we're going to go up 8 levels. You what? I'm not going up there. You fucking the bastard. Get up there. Get up there. Trying to get. So basically, it's total fantasy. You can't get a horse on to the 8th level of a multi-storey car park on a concrete surface. It would be lame by about floor 1, dead by floor 2. Okay, so completely impractical. I don't know what they were thinking.
The fools,
yeah, idiots. But basically, yeah, it's complete and total fantasy. So the setting, he set himself on fire, and all the fighting. For me, at that point, he's in the pit. That is Trip is at the gig. He's in the pit, and the fighting is him in the pit, just moshing, and if somebody, and if he's been knocked out, because he doesn't look like the hardest of kids, if he's been knocked out, then he's like coming round in like St. John's ambulance or whatever the American equivalent is. Do you know what I mean? But being a little bit too literal here, or being a lot too literal, it's just the culmination of the whole trip that he's been on, and the guy turning up, you know, on his horse. For some reason, this bloke, as well as wearing a needless oxygen mask, has a hankering for lynching people. That's his thing. It's what he does.
Everyone's got their kink.
Yep, and that's the only purpose he serves in this film. He's got to be called the Hangman, surely. But I also kind of think that maybe he is the marionette, and the marionette coming to life. The point is that the marionette came to life in his mind ages ago. There's a case that can be made that the marionette is the horseman, and the horseman is the marionette. They're slightly similar. Also, notice the marionette is hanging. The marionette is is always hanging. So all of the lynchings, do they all represent the marionette, or is it just literally the fact that Tripp one of the last things he saw before he took his pill was his marionette hanging from the rearview mirror, and so that image has fixed in his head and keeps repeating.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
and so it keeps repeating. Yeah, like it does if you've ever had a bad trip. A bit of advice here, kids. If you are going to do Class A drugs, and I fully recommend that you fucking do, make sure it's with people that you know and love in a very safe environment. Somewhere like a battlefield or a hospital during a riot. But
not on the roof of a car park.
Yeah. So, what does it represent, I guess? The truth is, I do not know. I really don't know. I don't know where this sledgehammer comes from. Like the imagery behind that, the fact that he manages to destroy the horseman and the horse, and they shatter into glass after the horseman has tried to hang him, because that's all the horseman does.
That's his job.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lynching boner. A lynching boner. God, that's not a mental image you want, is it?
New Acid Rain song title there.
Fucking album title, that, mate. But also the visuals, especially in 3D, the visuals of when he smashes the sledgehammer down. It's not just that he destroys the horse; he lays waste to the entire city. It becomes apocalyptic because in the background you can see like buildings, and it's like a fucking. It's not like a few things are on fire. No, it's like there's been a fucking massive bomb has gone off, and I mean there's the silhouettes of destroyed buildings, and it's absolutely brutal. It's like fuck. This looks like a properly horrific scene. This city has been absolutely laid to waste. Now, is that representative of it's the end of the set and Metallica have just wasted yet another city and it's on to the next town, motherfuckers? You know?
100%. That is exactly my take on it. As soon as those buildings went, I thought, that's what it is. How many times have you left a gig just like through the mess of the floor or at a festival, you know, when that's over, it just looks apocalyptic. There's smashed stuff everywhere. There's bodies everywhere. You know, it feels the same as that looks. So, yeah, that was my take on it. I'm glad, maybe it's not rocket science that you would take that from it, but I'm glad you're on the same page there. It's glorious.
It is. It's fucking epic. But also, what we then happen is we go back to the gig, and as everything has been destroyed, so has the gig. The gig has started falling apart. We get the Burning Man thing routine again. Beautifully played again. James doing some more acting, which is great, and it's kind of weird because it's like that's where the sort of the movie narrative finishes, and then but I love this thing. I love the fact that, I mean, you know, they've done it before. I loved it then and I love it now. The fact that you end up with the biggest metal band there's ever been that have sold fucking millions of albums. We've played every continent. They've done everything a fucking band can. And here they are with a bunch of amps stood within 2 or 3 feet of each other, smashing out the first song from their first album. And like James says, this is what it's like in our garage. This reminds me of Kill 'Em All. Yeah. And it's like, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And I just think it's a nod to how grounded that they are as a band and people, and the fact that for quite a few years, as we discussed earlier about Load, for quite a few years they were kind of almost ashamed of their legacy. I remember seeing Lars in a documentary on thrash metal where he refused to even say the term thrash metal. He point blank refused. And when he was
Wow.
when he was in his years when he was into Oasis and all the rest of it, and it was constantly distancing from metal, and it's lovely to see that they're in a place where they are old enough and wise enough to be proud of their legacy and curate it probably better than any band curates their legacy. And the fact that the show finishes with them, the actual live show finishes with them smashing out the first song off their first album in that rehearsal room vibe in an arena that holds fucking 25, 30,000 people. I just think that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And also it shows James's frontman skills as well are hugely, hugely underrated, I think. Because
It's one of the best.
well, it just fucking is. With fucking 12,000 people in there. And he's not talking to everyone else, he's talking to me. You know, I don't know why these people are even listening, because he's clearly talking to me. And it's that ability to just go, hey, cool, how are you? How's it going? And just relate to you as if you're a guest at a rehearsal, as opposed to a fan who's paid a shitload of money to watch them. You know, you just get the guy. You just get the authentic dude. And I guess that's what I mean by like talk to crowd like it's one person, because then you're being authentic, because nobody talks to 20,000 people at a time. Yeah. And it's those dickheads.
Not usually.
Yeah. And it's people who do that are the dickheads. Like whenever you hear that phrase, like, oh, there was only 10 people there, but we played it like there was 1,000. Really? Did you? That was fucking stupid then, wasn't it? Because those 10 people thought, why is this dickhead playing this like there's 1,000 people here? Has he not noticed there's only 10 of us? He's
been there.
And he's the master of it here. When that little bit, he goes, well, is everybody okay? Can you hear us? And I know it's like it's a role he's playing at that particular point, but it is that Hetfield style of just everything's just nothing's big deal, you know. He's just really authentic, and yeah, it's like the Metallica family and give me a hey and blah, and all the rest of it, and he's got that, and that's the show. But between songs, when he's talking to the crowd, he's talking to you. That is whenever I see Metallica, I always come away with the fuck me. He has just absolutely nailed that ability to make an arena full of 10,000 people feel like a rehearsal room, and you're the only one in it. You know, and that's just an amazing skill, especially coming from an introvert as well, or an extroverted introvert.
He's struggled with so many demons over his time, and yet he's come out on the other side. I mean, just speaking from this film onwards, and he does make you feel like he's your mate, which is one of those rare qualities that, for instance, has never happened with Lars. You know.
well, the thing is, right? I think this is one of Metallica's greatest legacies, because when Metallica came out, their image was they had no image. And this was new, and this is what caused, for me, I think, is what caused a big divide between thrashers and glam, because Metallica came up at a time where it was all about excess. It was all about having an image. Now, you could say they were the first band to never have an image. Well, no, they weren't, because Black Sabbath didn't have an image, really. They were just four scruffy lads from Birmingham. By the time Metallica came out, Black Sabbath had an image, limos, private jets, and Ozzy was a rock
Sure.
and Ozzy was a rock star. Metallica brought everything back to just four dudes in torn jeans and t-shirts of bands you've never heard about playing fucking music. That's it. No gimmicks. We've got a backdrop with our name on it. Yeah? Got a fucking problem with that? Then fuck off. And that was it. And it's like, James's classic rant at the very first Donington, where he goes, if you're expecting to see a band with fucking spandex and fucking makeup, and he's like, you know, slagging off glam, which was great. But they brought that whole, we're just guys playing in a band, it's no big deal, and they brought that, and that almost punk ethos. Certainly myself in Acid Rain, that is something that I latched onto, and I was determined that we would always be a band where people went, they're all right. No, they're just all right blokes. You know, they're like, you know, oh yeah, Acid Rain, yeah, you can. They're fine. They're nice guys. Because I was determined that we would never be one of those bands where it's people like, oh, you know, a bunch of arseholes. Oh yeah, I don't like their image. And it's like, no, we don't want an image. You end up with one whether you want it or not, especially if you, especially if you arse about as much as we did. But I think that was possibly Metallica's like biggest legacy. Even now, if you're a thrash band, you better not give a fuck. You better be down to earth. You better be a nice guy. You better have time for the fans. No rockstar bullshit at all. There is no fucking room for it. And that still exists today in this genre that is decades old. And I genuinely think that's what Metallica brought to it. Because Anthrax, right from the word go, had an image. Slayer had an image. Megadeth, who gives a fuck? But well, actually, no. To be fair, I do like Megadeth. I love Megadeth, but their image, unfortunately, was Dave's a spoiled bastard who can't stop going on about Metallica and is a heroin addict. And that was, you know, in those years, in those formative years, that's who they were. But Metallica, they brought the image of, I didn't have these jeans ripped by a fucking costume designer.
Yes.
These jeans are ripped because I can't afford a new pair of jeans. And I think, again, that informs all the people who went and followed them. You look at the back of Kill 'Em All and you think, yeah, I can do that. I can look like that. I fucking do most days. And all of a sudden, every other band in the world, you were supposed to look on the back of their album and go, oh, look at them. Oh, don't they look great? Or, oh, yeah, look at them. They're lofty rock stars up on a pedestal. And you look at the back of Kill 'Em All and you go, I think I saw him down the pub last week. You know, he's got spots. I've got spots. Maybe we can do this. You know? And I think that's a huge part of what they brought to the table.
They end this film in a way where they're giving you something. They didn't have to do it. They've spent their money. Both the stage set, the gig is all wound down, as you say, like literally by Hit the Lights, it's just the four of them and this massive crowd. The trip story's over, and yet they're just going to stay in for one more while the credits roll. And give their fans one last thing. Thanks for staying, fans. I've got a couple more questions, but I want to first of all sort of pick your brain about Orion. Why do you think they chose Orion?
I think they chose Orion to showcase Rob. Yeah. Because I think that they haven't played. I mean, they've played bits of it, but they've never played the whole song live since that I'm aware of. Certainly since Cliff died.
Oh right, okay.
And I think. I'm not sure about this. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think it's the only version of Orion, the whole song, being played live that you can find. I mean, I'm probably wrong, and there'll be Metallica fans who have a lot more knowledge than I do, listening to this shaking heads, going, actually, I think you'll find 1989 in the amphitheater just outside of Texas, they played the entire song. Well. Good for you. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. But I think they did it because it's not something that they play live very often, if at all. And Rob is the man to play that tune with. You know, I think they must have been fucking about with it. Somebody might have suggested it. It might have been management. They may have been playing around with it for a while. Rob might have said, "Oh, fucking hell, I'd love to do a Rhyme one day." And, you know, they might, you know, he might have said that to them, like, you know, on his first fucking week in the band, I'd love to do a Rhyme one day. And they were all like, yeah, man, yeah, we should do that. Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, because I've got this shit worked out. And I was like, oh, wow, that's fucking amazing. Wow, yeah, you can do all the stuff Cliff did with your fingers as well. Yeah, that's amazing, yeah. I'm sure we'll do that one day. 20 years later, Lars, who never forgets anything, will have gone, hey, Rob, Remember that time? Rob, no, I don't remember that actually, Lars. Well, I've had an idea. And it's a fucking gift. It's an absolute gift. Rob's bass tone. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That is just... When that came on, when I was watching it last week, when that came on, I doubled the volume. And I just thought...
From stupid to what the fuck?
No, I went... No. I listened to the whole film on what the fuck. I upped it from what the fuck. I upped it from what the fuck to fuck you, neighbours. It's just... It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And there's a great ending on it as well. Because obviously it just fades out on the album. But there's a great ending on it. Trip makes an appearance and sits in the seats and he watches as well.
Because he's not left.
Which is nice for him, isn't it? Yeah. The bag is still there. You'd think somebody would have taken that, but no. It's great. It's great. And also Lars stays behind the kit sat down, which is another bonus. Yeah, that is a downside when you in 3D when you see Lars getting up from behind his kit and walking around. It's like double annoying. You know, it's like watching it on. Now I'm jealous of watching it. Oh, you watching it in 2D. The bits when Lars gets up and walks around. Sit down, mate.
I'm going to end this on a negative because that's how I like to roll. So, agreed. We both pretty much love this. This is great. I think, as just a summation of it, I think it sets out to do something and it achieves it exactly how they set out to do it. I don't think any expense was spared with regards to it. All the money's on the screen. Yeah. Looks incredible. But my question to you is, if you can pick something about it that you don't like, I want to know, like, have you got any critiques, any negative thoughts about any of it at all?
Well, funnily enough, when you were talking then, I had a realization that we were talking about this movie and how many years ago it is since I watched it for the first time in the cinema. And no way did I expect to still be watching this movie fairly regularly. All these years later, I saw it at the cinema and I thought, that's good, that's really good, I really enjoyed it. I'll get that on Blu-ray. That was great. Yeah, wonderful.
Sure.
But it didn't blow me away. I didn't come out there going, "Oh my god, oh fucking hell." Oh, I was happy. Really wanted to see it again. I'm gonna get the Blu-ray, etc. Yeah, but that was it. But it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's kept my interest. And watching it again for this podcast and picking things out like the blue and red lighting in one and stuff like that and going like, oh, right, okay. Yeah. So bits like that, I'm just like, yeah, right, okay, cool. Now, to answer your question, for somebody who spends most of his time picking faults with everything, I don't think there's anything in there that there's nothing in there that jars for me. There's nothing in there where I think, oh, that's wince inducing, oh, that's a bit cringe, oh, and if there was, I'd know by now because I've seen it enough. And I think when you asked me the question, I instantly started going through my mind thinking, right, and just clicking through the movie. I go, well, hang on. If I'm even doing that, it means there isn't one. Because when you say, is there anything, my answer should be, oh yeah, it's when that, and there isn't. And in fact, there's only things to praise about it. The way it goes out the way it came in, on its own terms, going out on Orion, which is a fucking beautiful, it's a Cliff tribute. It's showcasing Rob's interpretation of a song that is built around the bass. and it's 92-minute running time. I mean, there are so many directors out there right now who need their fucking fingers chopping off after 90 minutes. You know, there's so many editors out there who will be giving 90-minute edits of movies to directors, and the director going, no, it needs 20 minutes putting back in. No, it doesn't. 3-act structure, 30 minutes per act. It's the law of 3. 3-act structure, 30 minutes per act, equals 90 minutes. There's your perfect movie for you. The fact that they manage to create a narrative arc and a story and play a gig on the most amazing stage you'll ever see and put that into a 92-minute framework, it's unsurpassed, and I don't think it ever will be for what it is, because I don't think anybody will ever take anything like that on, because it costs too much. You've obviously got a bit of a problem with Nothing Else Matters or being in there. Or what's your gripe?
I was just trying to think of a way I could edit what you said to say, but yeah, I really just think they should have had Bread Fan in there, but but no, I don't think I can get that. Do you know, I've got a couple of issues with the set list, but that's as bad as it gets. And what Metallica fan doesn't have a couple of issues with a set list? Everyone wants their favourites.
Look, I'd take your point on that, but by the same token, I'd also say you're missing the point. It's not about the set list. It's just not. It really isn't. Because if it was, there's songs that Cyanide would not be in the set.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? It's the set list for the movie. It's not the set list for the gig. So I think it's been very carefully curated to happen like that.
Final thing.
Yep.
Budget. I've got some stats up here. Budget 18 million. Domestic opening 1.5. And total worldwide, when they finished all said and done, 7.9 million.
Yeah.
So from an 18 million input, again, that's just from Box Office Mojo. Might be incorrect here and there, but you know, you get the gist.
Yeah.
You've said that no other band would do that, and I think you're 100% right. Like, even the biggest bands would sit down, see the loss, think again, rethink it. But Metallica here have delivered something that no other band could have or would have done. And I, as a end note, I just am so happy that they have. I'm so happy that it exists. I'm so happy that it's there.
Yeah. And
like, they should never second guess themselves on whether it was a good or bad decision. Because I think that if you can, and it's for artistic sake, do it. And they have.
Yeah.
Does that shock you, those figures? Does that make you just go, well, maybe they should not have done that?
No, I genuinely thought they'd lost more than that. I mean, if you look at it if you're looking at it from a business and a management perspective, my take is that management were not strong enough with the band. Management should have said, guys, no, you do not finance this. Yeah? And the band are, look, we're Metallica. We do everything our way. We always have. We say fuck you to everybody. We put our name on everything. And
yes, they do.
And our record is not far off 100%. Our batting average is very high. To which somebody in management needed to say, you're right. In the music industry, you are going out of your industry into one that you know nothing about. And that is the danger here. The danger is you can lose your arse. As an artistic venture, I think it's one of the best things they've ever fucking done. I think it's up there with S&M, you know, those things they do when they go off-piste. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I'm so glad that they did it, that they made it, because we've now got this forever. And wouldn't you just want to see a gig with them playing on that stage? I mean...
Yeah, man. That cannot be just in a blooming shed somewhere.
I mean, just go, go and spend a day in Metallica Town during the day, around all the stalls and the Metallica themed food and everything else that's popped up, and go into the venue and see like best show of your life. Yeah, it'd just be amazing.
Howard, thank you so much for being part of this. This
Pleasure.
Has been a real long one. Thank you, everyone that's been listening along. That's a long one, but yeah.
It's been. Well, whoever's listening, believe you and me, if you think this is long that you're listening to, no, it was much longer. Paul's been on the edit. And indeed it was. So thank you very much, Paul, for sorting the edit out, because otherwise, it would have been even longer. Well done for getting this far. If you've managed to listen to the whole thing, well done. I don't know how many sittings that's taken, but congratulations. You deserve a good old pat on the back. Now, you can discover Paul's podcast. There will be a link in the description of this podcast directly to A Year in Horror, or just search A Year in Horror in any of your podcast apps. That's the best thing to do, folks. But there will be a link in the description. There's also a link saying support this podcast, where you can go to Patreon and get loads of extra bits and pieces for the podcast if you want. If you want to get tons more, over 400 posts, all sorts of bits of content out there for you, then feel free. Patreon.com/Howard Smith. Sorry, Howard H. Smith. I'm doing a shit job of this. It's almost like I've listened to all of that as well, and I'm as knackered as you are. But I haven't, of course. I've just imported the file, and I'm speaking to you about, a minute after I did the intro. Well, no, a few minutes. But hey, look, I don't want to ruin the magic of podcasting for you, but I pretty much already have there. And let's face it, if you thought there was any magic involved in podcasting, well, you haven't been listening to this fucking podcast, have you? So, once again, awesome work from Paul. A great idea. It was his idea to do this. And it was a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. I really, really enjoyed it. So, make sure you catch up with Paul's podcast. Make sure you subscribe here. Make sure you go to Patreon. Support the podcast. That'd be awesome if you would. I'd really appreciate it. But all in all, hope you've enjoyed this extra Talking Movie Bollocks podcast. And who knows? There may be some more on the way. Of course, there's some more on the way. That's why I'm saying that. Thanks for listening.